Welcome to the Rainy Day Rabbit Holes podcast, your escape from the mundane.
Dive into the rich history of the Pacific Northwest with us and let your mind wander down the rabbit hole.
Because in the Northwest, it's always raining something weird. I am Shea.
And I'm Jody.
Let's fall down the rabbit hole. Hey, Jason.
Hey, Shea.
All right, grab a beer, which you already did.
Okay, grabbing a beer.
Because today...
You said beer, not bear, right?
Yes, a beer, not bear.
Okay, good.
Do you have a lot of bears roaming around urban Phoenix?
Oh, you know. Depends on your definition of bear.
Right. Well, grab a beer because today is December 5th, a very important day in history, and the reason we are talking today.
Excellent.
On this day in 1933, Prohibition finally ended.
Woo!
Woo, woo, woo. Yep, we are diving into the wild ride that was Prohibition. When the U.S. government decided to take the country dry, and spoiler alert, it backfired harder than me trying to do math after a few beers. It's true.
That is definitely true.
I always have to hand the receipt to my husband to do the tip after a couple of beers.
How many hands do I have? Can't count.
And hey, before we dive in, shout out to our home state of Washington, which, believe it or not, was ahead of the Prohibition curve. We didn't wait for the national band to start clinking our empty glasses. Washington outlawed the manufacture and sale of liquor in 1914, 6 whole years before the 18th Amendment.
Wow.
By New Year's Eve, 1915, every saloon in the state had been shuttered. Talk about a buzzkill.
No doubt.
But here's the kicker. Washington was also ahead of the game when it came to calling it quits.
Because they were ready to drink.
Yes, they were. This was a bad experiment. In January 1932, the state repealed its own prohibition laws, almost 2 years before the 21st Amendment made it official nationwide. So basically, Washington saw the writing on the wall and said, yeah, we're over this.
They were too stupid to not see it ahead of time anyways. And then they were like, oh, we're done with this way early.
Yeah. They're like, you've tried to legislate.
We put in our time.
Yeah, you've tried to legislate our morality for long enough, on this thing at least. Picture this. It's 1920. The roaring 20s are kicking off, flapper dresses are swishing, jazz is swinging, and everyone's ready to have a good time. Except, boom, the 18th Amendment drops like the ultimate party foul, banning the manufacture, sale, and transportation of alcohol. America went from cheers to who took my beer?
Cheers to no beers.
Exactly. Oh, that's so sad. I would never cheers to no beers.
What are you going to cheers with?
Exactly. Water.
Ugh, gross. You know what fish do in that?
Oh, fish poop in your water.
Yeah, nobody wants water. Gross.
Now, this wasn't some spur-of-the-moment idea. Prohibition had been brewing, pun intended, for decades. The temperance movement was all about saving society from what they called the evils of alcohol. Groups like the Anti-Saloon League were out there waving signs saying, think of the children. And sure, they had some points. Alcohol abuse was a real problem for families back then.
Think of the children. Children need beer too.
That's right. Hey, you know what? Beer was the only thing that saved children back during cholera outbreaks in the 16 and 1700s. So, there we go. But here's the twist. When government outlawed booze, people didn't just say, okay, I guess we'll stop drinking now. Nope. Instead, they got creative. Enter the bootleggers and the speakeasies. Suddenly, drinking was like an underground club, exclusive, secretive, and way cooler than before. At Washington State, we were a hotbed for some of the wildest prohibition antics, thanks to our location. Seattle became a prime spot for bootlegging because of its proximity to Canada, where liquor remained legal. Enter, who do you think is entering? Can you guess?
Oh, the dude that was the cop that all of a sudden was like the best bootlegger in the world for a minute.
It did sound like you just said bootlicker.
Bootlegger. Sorry, bootlegger.
He was definitely not a bootlicker. Enter Roy Olmsted, AKA
Oh, that's right.
the king of the Seattle bootleggers, or the gentleman bootlegger, or the good bootlegger. He had lots of monikers.
Gentleman bootlegger. That was a great episode, by the way.
That was episode 36, Smooth Criminal. And if you haven't listened to it, go check it out. It was a great episode.
It was a great episode.
He was a former Seattle police lieutenant turned bootlegging mastermind, running one of the most sophisticated operations in the country. And his story was just so good, we had to do a whole episode on it, thanks to Brad Holden's excellent book about Seattle Prohibition. So Olmsted was known for smuggling high-quality Canadian liquor into Seattle and distributing it with an efficiency that Amazon would probably envy today. His downfall? The feds caught him tapping into the latest technology, radio, to send coded messages. It's a wild tale, and it really highlights how Prohibition turned crime into a professional operation. So back to the national scene. Guess who made bank off of this?
Amazon.
Not quite. I was going to say organized crime, but that also is kind of Amazon.
It's
close.
601.
That's right. Half a dozen beers
Organized crime
of
of the other. Yeah. I mean, your words. I like Amazon packages coming to my house. So.
I do. It's been really, really hard to give that up. I got off of X, but I can't get off of Amazon.
That's right. We can dump that stuff easy. Amazon, on the other hand, that might be a little rough.
Okay, here's the difference. I have to go to the store, or I can sit in my house and not have to talk to people. I'm going to choose the last one. All right, so these guys saw Prohibition as a golden opportunity. Al Capone, for example, basically became the Jeff Bezos of booze. His empire in Chicago made an estimated $60 million a year from illegal alcohol, and that's 1920s money.
Wow. $60 million a year.
Yeah. So imagine what that would buy today. Like
60 million.
Like half a craft
PBRs,
brewery
I don't know.
in Seattle.
Yeah. You might be able to afford some property in Seattle. I don't know.
Right, exactly. Like maybe Bill Gates. That's like his Lake Washington yacht. Not the one that actually goes in the Puget Sound. It's just the Lake Washington one is the $60 million yacht.
Yeah. That's what he drops out of his pockets every time he comes home.
Exactly.
Oh, I emptied it out. And look, there's 60 million. Oh, well.
When his pants go through the laundry, that's what his maid is pulling out of the washing machine filter basket is just $60 million.
Man, he doesn't wash pants. He just buys new ones.
Oh, I mean, he doesn't wash pants. That's for sure.
Oh, definitely.
Here's the thing, though. It wasn't all jazzy speakeasies and bathtub gin. Prohibition turned cities into battlegrounds. Gangs fought over territory like it was the last cold beer at a barbecue. Violence skyrocketed. The St. Valentine's Day Massacre in 1929, that was Capone's gang taking out rivals, and it shocked the country. And it wasn't just about violence. Prohibition exposed the government's weak spots. Enforcement was a joke, underfunded, undermanned, and riddled with corruption. You had federal agents trying to shut down moonshine operations while some of their buddies were, let's just say, sampling the evidence. And that definitely happened in Seattle.
Oh, I'm sure.
At the same time, the economy took a hit. Alcohol had been a major industry, breweries, distilleries, bars, you name it. Plus, the government lost all that sweet tax revenue. And oh boy, didn't they miss it when the Great Depression hit. It's like they banned beer and then realized they couldn't afford to keep the lights on.
That's bad news.
I draw a direct correlation between Prohibition and the Great Depression.
You could have afforded to not keep the lights on if you had beer to keep you warm and comfortable in those long
Exactly.
nights.
By the 1930s, people were over it. Even politicians were like, okay, maybe this wasn't our best idea. Franklin D. Roosevelt ran for president promising to repeal Prohibition, and when he won, he said, "What America needs now is a drink."
Hell yeah.
I gotta love a president with priorities.
That's right. Give me the Franklin D. D is for drinks.
Exactly. The 21st Amendment, which repealed Prohibition, was ratified on December 5th, 1933. That's why we celebrate Repeal Day, basically the unofficial holiday of beer nerds everywhere. Imagine the parties that night. It was probably the first legal keg stand in over a decade. But here's the sobering truth. Prohibition didn't just fizzle out and leave behind a funny story. It fundamentally changed America. Organized crime didn't just pack up shop when alcohol was legal again. By then, they'd expanded into drugs, gambling, and more. Prohibition gave them the structure and funds to become long-lasting criminal empires. But on the brighter side, we got some fun things out of it too. Cocktail culture exploded because people were trying to make their bathtub gin taste, well, less like a bathtub. And here in Washington, we bounced back quickly. By 1934, Seattle was already hosting legal liquor sales again, and breweries like Rainier were back in action. So what do you think, Jason? Prohibition ultimate buzzkill or historical keg stand gone wrong? That was a bad joke.
Historical kegs, yeah. Historical keg stand gone wrong. I mean, we wouldn't go with that, obviously.
Well, either way, it's a reminder to never mess with America's right to party.
That's correct.
The Beastie Boys, if they have taught us nothing else.
Mm-hmm. You got to fight for that right.
Exactly.
I think they've taught us some better things than that, but you know.
Oh, yes. I mean, there was a whole album, Paul's Boutique, that taught me many lessons. And hey, if you're listening from Washington, you've got extra bragging rights for being ahead of the curve, both in banning booze and in bringing it back. So thanks for listening, everyone. And thank you to my big brother, Jason, for joining me on this special Repeal Day bonus episode.
Here's cheers to beers. Can I give a quick shout out to one of the loveliest little tap rooms in Phoenix that is now celebrating their 8th anniversary on this Repeal Day is Wandering Tortoise.
Oh, Wandering Tortoise is amazing.
Indian School. It is their 8th anniversary. So for anybody in the Phoenix area, I would highly suggest going and checking it out.
I love it. Wandering Tortoise is great. Their selection of beer is phenomenal. So
very, very good.
I'm into it. And they have good food trucks as well.
They do.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Don't forget to raise a glass on December 5th for Repeal Day.
Hey, also remember, December 5th is Krampusnacht.
No.
Yes. The official best holiday in December.
Absolutely. And what happens on Krampusnacht if you were a bad child?
Oh, you get thrown in a basket and beaten with sticks. It's fantastic. So.
Is it fantastic for the children or the people doing the beating?
I don't know. It depends on what you're into, I guess. Some habits start, when you're young and you just don't know how to explain them. So,
well, hopefully by the time this episode comes out, I will have my pictures of me sitting on Krampus's lap from Sunday when I went to the Krampus Bazaar at the church cantina. So I'll make sure that I post that with this episode. It was pretty good.
That's not a stick. It's in his pocket.
Oh, no.
He is kind of horny. So,
He is kind of horny. All right. Well, thanks, guys. And go out there and enjoy a cocktail or a mocktail in celebration of Krampusnacht, most importantly, and Repeal Day, also importantly. All right, guys. Well, cheers. Cheers, Jason.
Cheers.
Bye.
I'm trying not to get, too much head on that.
That's what she said.
Well, yeah. In a strange twist of fate, I'm trying to not get too much head.